anxietycenter.com.
My first of all, I wanted to mention that with Christine, that back in I think 2018 or whatever, she had a YouTube channel that was just awesome. And she followed you guys, Anxiety Center, and she helped so many people, and she had such a following. And so I'm pretty confident she's going to overcome this setback because she's really good and she knows what she's talking about. So
great, yeah.
She really helped me recover pretty much at that time and about 2 years ago. And but anyway, I just wanted to thank her for that. And
great.
But I have. I think the last time I talked to you was in November when I was on that last Skype in November. And I was doing pretty good at that time. And actually, the day that I talked to you, I contracted COVID. My daughter, she worked in middle school, and she brought it home. And she was a couple of days sick and didn't, kind of in denial over it. And I made her test her. But anyway, so I ended up contracting it. And, that was just like the month from hell for me. I sick the whole month. I think I had every symptom for just at least a few days or whatever. And I did contract a touch of pneumonia from it. But the worst part was that I lost my dog. My dog passed away there in that time I was sick, and it was unexpected. And boy, you talk about a setback. The whole month of December and January, I've been trying to get back to baseline. And I think I'm getting there now, but my dizziness got worse just from all the anxiety and everything from it, and I did stay 24 hours overnight at a private ER where I had antibiotics. And after that, I did pretty well. I was okay. But so it's been kind of a craziness, but I want to mention the three that I have down here that I have been struggling with as barriers. And it seems like it's, I don't really have any answers. But the first one is, to me, is hyper vigilance, being hyper vigilance and constantly thinking about it and how I'm going to feel every time I get up or get out of the car. It's like normal people don't do that. And I know that, live life. They get up off the couch, they get out of a car or whatever, and don't think about, am I going to be dizzy? What's it going to feel like? Am I going to be da-da-da? Or, So let's see, I wrote down, every time symptoms are going to reappear or respond to my thinking, the symptoms, how to get out of that loop, because it's like a loop you're in.
Yeah.
That was the first one. And the second one, barrier, was just believing, how do you get past doctors' diagnoses, when you know that they're wrong, but at the same time, it affects you on and off, it's just because it's been placed in your mind. And if you have health anxiety, like I've had mostly all my life, it makes it harder. So, it's kept me from like eating, certain, or just living life. It's very, to me, it's evil what those doctors do. What they tell you.
Can you give me an example of what they gave you that?
Oh my God, John. Jim, to be honest, this one neuro that's very famous around here in the dizzy circles. Oh God, I wish I'd never gone down that rabbit hole. And, he like diagnosed me with everything. How do you do that? I mean, he diagnosed me with vestibular migraine, PPPD, MDDS, and something central.
Yeah.
It's just insane. How do you do something like that? And just, it's like, okay, so I don't really personally know what it is, but I'm just going to give you everything on the list.
That's right. Yeah.
So the vestibular migraine one, I don't have migraines, but of course they come back and say, well, you don't have to have migraines to have vestibular migraines.
Right.
So, all the foods that I've ever eaten, or rain outside, which always used to be my favorite kind of weather and stuff, it's like all that's attached on the list of vestibular migraines, everything you eat. I ate all these things. before I had this symptom. And, but now it's like in my brain, okay, every time I eat a piece of cheese or just I mean, anything that I used to enjoy, you can't enjoy food.
Right.
And everything in the ingredients that you buy, certain things, everything you have to look at. I don't even do it anymore because I just don't believe it. But at the same time, it's in the back of my head that, this is what's causing it. Well, how could it cause it? Even when I don't eat. I mean, when
Yeah.
I was sick, I basically only lived off things like oatmeal. I had tomato basil soup every day. I had this addiction to it. I don't know why. Maybe I needed something in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I still had the same symptoms.
Yeah.
That was a month I didn't eat. So it's just in your brain. It's set in your head. And even though you don't believe it, the doctors put it there. And if you have health anxiety, then that's where your brain kind of goes. And
Yeah.
it causes so much anxiety.
Yeah.
Don't know how to live
Gotcha. Sure. Yeah. Good
anymore
example.
with it. And the other one was just sticking with the recovery program and being diligent about it. That to me is a barrier too. Because in a way, when I'm doing these things that are supposed to be, it makes me feel like I'm telling my brain that something is still wrong with me. That something is wrong with me, and so that sets me off in that fight or flight or whatever, that anxiety mode. So how do you do that? Stay diligent and stick with the recovery program. And
Gotcha. Sure. Yeah, the last part of that you mentioned is a common one, believing that a lot of people still believe there's something else wrong, that the doctors missed something because their symptoms are lingering for so long. That's a very common one.
But I know that's not true because I can look back and I just see from what point to what point. I analyze everything and I'm saying there's just no way. There's no way. It's anxiety related. I feel it. I know how it creeped up on me. Of course, I've been like this since I was 9 years old, because I had trauma in my childhood too, pretty bad. I was pretty much abandoned kind of, on my own. And it's probably why I'm very independent and I have to be in control of things because I had to raise myself that way.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I know that it's anxiety. And I've been following your website, gosh, probably since 2012 or around my brother passed away. I was having issues. So, I mean, I know it. I know that's what it is because something like that, the symptom, it didn't just come on. It was so gradual. And at the time that it was so gradual, like I told you before, I was under so much extreme stress, with my in-laws and, elderly and just patients and, everything.
Yeah.
So I know that's what it is. But of course, in your brain, sometimes you do go back and you think, oh God, well, the doctors, they can't figure out what it is. And they're just, MRIs and everything comes out okay. And vestibular therapy I did for a year and a half, no, much of anything. Well, no, it's not going to work if you still have anxiety.
Yeah.
If it's anxiety related, So I do know, but I'm in a loop with so many different things.
Yeah. Where would you say if you were to rate your hyperstimulation would be in 0 to 100%, 100% being maximum? Where do you think your body is right now?
Oh, right now? Right now it might be because I feel myself as everybody's talking. I'm thinking, okay, Janice, your shoulders are raised up. You're really, I'm realizing that I'm tensing up as people are talking and I'm hearing and listening. So, it's probably to me right now, maybe at an 8 because it goes back and forth. Because when I see it, I see myself getting tense and I see myself in the beginning of it coming on.
Yeah.
I stop it.
Gotcha.
I say, okay, right now you're feeling, because usually it used to be you'd ignore it, your shoulders being up and not even realizing it. But now I realize where my muscles are going and what's going on because it's like the very beginning of, of it starts. So, yeah.
I'm sorry. No, did you mean 80% or on a scale of 0 to 100%?
Oh, 0 to 100. I'm sorry. I thought you were going like 1 to 10. No, yeah, probably at maybe a 75. Or,
okay.
Yeah.
How are the rest of your symptoms? Do you still have other symptoms?
I do, like the other symptoms I have come and go, but it it's like it's hard to explain, but I think it's common. Like my mornings, it's like as soon as my eyes open up and the light um, comes in, or something, I start getting that churning stomach,
Hmm.
the shakes, from your nervous is shaking, and the nausea. It's the same symptoms I had as a child. It's the same things.
Yeah.
But like when I last time I talked to you, I was doing really well in the mornings. I wasn't having that, and
Hmm.
um, it was kind of going away. It was getting better my mornings. But that's probably that, and in the sensory overload, like when things get really bad, I'm feeling really nervous and there's too much stimulation around, like
Hmm.
that Marguerite was talking about restaurants and being around people and just talking to people. My hearing gets muted.
Hmm.
Um, my vision becomes like derealization.
Hmm.
It's I feel like I'm looking out of a fishbowl.
Gotcha.
It's like a box. It's very strange, but stuff like that. Yeah, I get those symptoms. I didn't
Yeah.
have those symptoms 20 years ago. I had mostly stomach and mind chatter, and stuff, when I would have it. But it's funny how these other ones, these sensory symptoms, have come along with the dizzy symptoms.
Hmm. Gotcha. Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, they're just like added to it, But
Yeah. Yeah.
those are kind of like the ones I'm having now. And sometimes you're with your dizziness. Mine's not really a vertigo dizziness. I think I've told you that. It's
Yeah.
you know, the pulling and the, like you're walking on floors moving, walking on cotton, your legs will feel real heavy sometimes. And sometimes they're weak. Sometimes they just feel like they're like you got cement shoes on, or um, I
Yeah.
feel like my brain is trying. I feel like it's trying to correct itself.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting up, I feel it. I feel myself going around, not in circles like vertigo, but like it's trying to balance.
Yeah.
It's trying to find its balance, like a wobblehead toy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Totally.
like it,
That's a good description of it for sure.
exactly, yeah, a
Yeah.
wobblehead toy. I feel like a wobblehead toy.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
I have to say too that most doctors get dizziness wrong. Uh, and I've
oh
seen
yeah,
it time and time and time and time. They just don't understand the connection between chronic stress and dizziness. I think that's maybe why they um, instituted the general catch-all phrase that they diagnose because they just don't know what it is. But we see it so often with anxious people and overly stressed people. It's really really common. Now and just because other anxious people don't get it doesn't mean it's not an anxiety symptom because everybody's body will react differently to stress. But those who do get dizziness, it is just one of those persnickety symptoms that just hangs in there. The good news again is that sometimes it can be an indication that your recovery is almost, towards the end. And a lot of times the dizziness will, as you mentioned, it comes from the body having a difficult time trying to establish um, balance in space. It just struggles. That's why sometimes if you're looking at something moving by you, you can feel lightheaded because the equilibrium system is having trouble establishing itself. But the good news is, as you get that stress down and things settle, um, that normal ability to balance comes back. It's just that it takes so long sometimes. And you can have waves of dizziness that's stronger than others, depending on how your body's responding. And the wave can come stronger even though you don't feel anxious, even though nothing has changed from a stress perspective. You can just get a really intense wave. That's just the uncomfortableness of of being dizzy. But you can get through this. You can get to clear-headedness again. But the thing is, you got to get that hyperstimulation. You have to eliminate it because that's what the body's asking, and that's just what takes the time. And then when you throw all the barriers in on top, you see why recovery is can take so long because there's a lot of barriers. I think we got like 30 now with everyone with comments, which are very helpful. But the good news is, again, if we just focus on that stress reduction and rest and not react to the symptoms and give the body time, it does recover. It's just that it takes a lot of time.
I listened to a Dr. Weeks somebody on YouTube put her talking about, I mean, she doesn't do level 2 recovery, but level 1 recovery, she does. I mean, she's amazing. But where they had her, she was talking about let time pass, let time pass, let the symptoms do what they will, let them do what they want. And I've listened to that a lot.
Yep.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, let the symptoms, don't fight them. Let them do what they will. They can't hurt you. But that's the key, is just letting those symptoms ride it out.
Yeah.
Just letting those symptoms do what they want.
Yeah. Because, there's no value in being anxious about them. It provides no value at all. Because, again, when you think about it, anxiety is supposed to get our attention, alert us to a danger that we have to do something about, or we should do something about. Well, if you know that our symptoms are anxiety related, stress related, and we're having them, being anxious about them provides no value, because we already know what's causing them. We're already doing things to get rid of them. So we're already doing what the anxiousness is supposed to motivate us to do. So this is where we have to say, you know what, I don't like it. It's unpleasant. But I'm just going to have to live with it now for the short term, and let time go. Focus on your recovery strategies, symptom of stress. Over time, this will lift. And we see that time and time and time again. Yeah. Good point.
So, Jim, what do you do about the she was talking about Clara Week. She died in the 80s. I wish she was still alive. She was awesome. She was the pioneer of all the basic things that you guys do.
Her and Jim Folk.
Yeah.
Well, she was my rock when I was getting through my condition. She was the only one that was talking about floating and everything else. You bet. She was really helpful to me. Yes. Yeah.
And she called dizziness giddiness in her books. That was dizziness. And it was very strange. My father suffered with mental illness and everything. And when he passed, it was really strange because I never heard of her. And I came across one of her books from the 60s that my father had. And that's how I got started on her. And I ended up with all of her CDs and everything. But I just
I wish I could figure out how to show it to you, but somebody did like a meditation to her talking with like the music and stuff.
It is. Yeah.
And I listen to that a lot, like when I'm super bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it really gives you confidence to listen to her stuff. But but I wanted to ask you about the hypervigilance. Like, how do you get, your brain just wants to go there, and it's not like you want to control your brain, because it's like trying to stop thinking about a pink elephant,
Yeah.
So how do you stop the hypervigilance? Because it's such a barrier, because you're thinking about it all the time, and it's not right to do that. That it's messing you up to be thinking about it. And if I'm not thinking about it, I'm not for like 2 seconds or 5 minutes not having a symptom, I'll be doing something, and then I'll be thinking, hey, I don't have this. Whoop, there it is. It's like.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of pieces to that. One is hypervigilance is very common for people with health anxiety, health medical issues, because in the back of our minds, we're always on the lookout for something that could be a serious or an indication of a serious condition. So that's always at the back of our mind. So that's one. People who don't have the health anxiety typically aren't as hypervigilant about their symptoms. Number two is you're going to be hypervigilant because, again, as stress goes up, so does the fear center, and the fear center's job is to look for danger. And its job is to warn you of it. So as that fear center activity goes up, it's going to be focusing on everything you think is dangerous. That's just what it does. Now, it's a benefit when we're in real danger, but it sure is a pain in the neck when we don't want it there and stress is elevated.
You don't need it in a grocery store. Let's put it
exactly,
that way.
Yeah. Or driving somewhere or thinking about anything.
Yeah.
And so then what we want to do is recognize those two things. Okay, so if you're dealing with your health anxiety, which I would recommend because that is an anxiety that doesn't disappear over time. It's something we have to work at eliminating. Now, thankfully, we can. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but it's something we have to work at because whenever we encounter a physical thing that's kind of an anomaly, we're going to be heading right back into anxiety, and we don't want to be doing that if we want lasting success. So coming to a different place with health anxiety is certainly important. The second thing to do is recognizing that it is stress related, and as your body gears down and as your symptoms start to abate, you're not going to be thinking about that anymore. So that's kind of a natural progression towards not doing that, because if you didn't have symptoms, there's no reason to be hypervigilant. It's just
Yes.
because you have symptoms, it's going to be that way. And as you're bringing that stress down and your symptoms are starting to disappear, you'll be less hypervigilant. So in the meantime, recognize the two things. And number 3 is recognize you are doing it. Say, whoa, here's where I'm focusing right here again. Gently move yourself to a different focus. And I had to do that a ton during my recovery.
Oh, I'm sure.
Caught
Yeah.
myself thinking, what are you doing? Here you go again. You're worrying about that. No, focus on something else. And I'd always, and I got really good at distracting. When I noticed myself doing that, I'd distract away from something else. And one way to do that is to find things that you are interested in, even though you may not be feeling well, but find things that capture your passion and redirect there.
Yeah, I do that because I do crafts and crochet.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that, Jim, because I've picked up some different things that I didn't even think I would enjoy, but I just tried them and I ended up really liking them.
There's great value in experimenting and just trying things just to see if they fit. And so that's another.
Okay, what about with pain? I mean, I'm kind of in a community that deals with chronic pain, and I'm certainly in chronic pain with my pelvis issue that's newly acquired, by the way. And the intense restlessness I consider pain, especially in the morning, because it purely feels just like a survival minute to minute. And that all sounds great, as far as okay, let's do these things, but when it comes to chronic pain and overwhelming pain, I mean, how
the pain is bad. I mean, my pain has gotten better, a lot better, but that hurting like that is so bad.
Well, I have, the acquired chronic or the pelvis pain in my pelvis, which, Jim, I did go to a urologist. I got checked out. I don't have any form of prostatitis or anything, so I'm just attributing it to stress.
Gotcha.
At this point. But I do have one blood panel that needs to come back, but I'm truly not worried about it. But the pain is there, and it's like, geez, I can, there's a lot of things that I do, or there's a lot of hobbies I have, but it's almost impossible to get involved with them with this pain. And not only the pelvis issue, but, the restlessness on top of that.
Yeah.
And now I have this newly acquired fear, which I'm got to kind of talk to Stacy next week about coming off this medication. It's like, okay, well, I'm at this level of hyperstimulation and suffering, and then I'm coming off this medication, which even the urologist that I saw last week said, you're on what? You don't want to be on that. That's not good for your organs. So please, come off.
Yeah.
So now I have like a double whammy. I got this pain and, I guess you could say I'm worrying about what's going to be like coming off this Depakote, which is a GABA drug. And, am I just going to amplify things? So I'm at work right now. I have to keep moving. So that's these things that Claire Weeks say. And I mean, and you say that I live to them, but it's really difficult when it comes to pain and this type of suffering to kind of just get in and play with your Tinker Toys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's probably another barrier is chronic pain, because pain is stressful. And if you have a physical condition that's causing the pain and you're trying to reduce your stress, you see how that stress is going to slow recovery down. And both my wife and I get that because we're both dealing with chronic pain. I've got this, you've probably heard about the hip thing that's been plaguing me probably now for 9 years, and it's just getting worse over the course of time.
I told you, Jim, get to Kansas.
Yeah, to Kansas, yes.
He needs to come to America and get his surgery done the next week.
That's what I
Well,
told
that's
him.
the
I
thing,
go,
eh?
the orthopedic surgeons are living to cut on somebody.
I know, yeah, geez. And so, and she's had a chronic pain because she was a nurse and injured her back, and so she had a failed back fusion. So she's been in chronic pain now for 30 years. And so, how do we manage it? Well, pain is just difficult, and I personally manage mine through deep relaxation. There's things I can and can't do. My doctor's recommended numerous drugs, and I don't take them. I believe in doing things naturally where I can. So how does one get, if chronic pain is being caused by hyperstimulation, and that chronic pain is contributing to hyperstimulation, it's definitely a challenge, going to slow things down. But we have seen when people continue to work at their deep relaxation, continue to work at their recovery, that pain will come down, and of course, so will the stress, which leads to recovery. It just might be slower for some people, for sure. Yeah. The restlessness is another one. Restless because the body is, hyperstimulated, so it's going to be restless. So how does one relax when the body's wired? And that's another challenge. Yeah. But this is where we still have to go back to doing whatever relaxation we can, containing ourselves, and continue to work at it, because that restlessness will also diminish over the course of time. So in the short term, when we're full of symptoms, we have to continue to do what we need to do to get the body back on track, because that it does come on track, those symptoms start to dive down and it gets easier.
I have no doubt, yeah, because it's happened once for me already, and it's just, I kind of, I try not to think about it.
I did a lot of music. Listening to music helped me.
Yep, whatever you can find ways to relax. I mean, relaxing doesn't mean, laying on the couch or in bed sleeping or meditating all day long. Relaxing just means doing things that you enjoy that aren't highly stimulating, right? I mean, stress reduction is all about not incurring stress. Doesn't mean we have to completely put ourselves into an isolated space. It just means we want to be doing things that we enjoy to the best of our ability, despite how we feel, because as long as we're not worrying, we're helping the body recover.
And the more we focus on that symptom, or even if it's not a symptom, just a pain that you would have because you have like a back end, the more that you focus on it, the more magnified it becomes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we mentioned in some materials that a lot of times if we're feeling completely healthy and start focusing on what the body's doing, you're going to find a lot of different things you never noticed before, because we just sort of tune them out. But this is where we have to come to with our symptoms too. We have to keep our attention away from them so that they seem less. And as they seem less, we're less concerned about them. Now, I'm not saying none of this is easy. If it sounds like I'm saying this is easy, I'm not saying that at all. It's hard work. And it's
quick.
Oh, it's never quick. Yeah. Never quick.
Yeah. I have a tendency to deep relax for a week, and I say, okay, I should be, or I can't wait to deep relax so that I can calm down my system even more. And then I'm wondering why it's even more ramped up after I get done deep relaxing.
Exactly. Or you've been working at it for a month and stress is down, you've been working hard, and it's like, okay, I should be feeling great, and yet the symptoms are still there.
Yeah.
Mine got worse, and you and Stacy both told me that when I quit my job. You both said you're going to get really sick now, and you weren't lying. I spent 6 months in bed.
Yep. Yeah. That's the darn thing.
Literally in bed. I mean, like showering every maybe 3 or 4 days, like literally in bed.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Get more sick because you're not at work, like distracting? Is that what they meant?
Yeah, I would think.
Well, when a person starts recovery, you usually start to feel worse, and there's reasons for that. Some of the reasons is because when we start to gear the body down, the body is going to load up more with stress hormones because we're not burning them off. So there's one aspect too. A lot of times too, it's our attention will focus on how we feel, because now we want to get better, so we're going to be paying closer attention to how we feel. As we start to cut back on our activities, a reduction in activities is going to also further reduce the body's ability to burn off stress hormones. There's also one off the top of my head here, but the after effects of stress are real, because as adrenaline starts to drop, it starts to unmask how we truly feel. So it's very, very common to feel worse as we start recovery than is to feel better. Certainly, most people will feel worse before they feel better.
Nice.
And I don't mean like a little worse. I mean like the worst I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
Marguerite, what is your, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what are your like maybe top 3 symptoms that just crush you?
The pain. The dizziness has let up quite a bit. That's gotten a lot better, and the pain's gotten better. But initially, you're talking about now or initially? Because I'm a year in.
Yeah, I mean, now I guess.
Now I get a lot of the swaying. I get a lot of the racing, negative thoughts, like I talked about earlier. Oh my gosh, I was supposed to get my period and it didn't come, and now I got to call a doctor. And so fixating and obsessing, and the sleeplessness. My sleep still isn't great. GI, a whole host of GI stuff. Oh my gosh, my poor GI system. Still dealing with some pain. Rashes, like all kind of I call them hot spots, itchy hot spots.
Mm-hmm.
I gained a ton of weight during this 5-year struggle. I'm probably
you've been talking 5 years too, huh? Yeah, I'm a 5-year. I'm actually 10
Well,
years.
October 2017, I had the panic attack of all panic attacks, and it kind of started me on this trajectory. But I'm a year into real intense, therapy. So I am seeing symptom reduction, which, Jim, you made me feel really good the last time I talked to you. You're like, for as hyperstimulated as you are, a year is not a long time. And if you're seeing any reduction, good for you. That means you're working hard. And, I just, like, there were times that I would do meditations even 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, just really calming myself down, I think the thing that got me was that article where you in the website where you talk about there's no freebies.
Yeah.
Every time you take the ride, whether it's worrying about health problems, worrying about money problems, worrying about whatever it is, every time I take the ride, it's making me stressed.
Yeah. Yep.
Every time. In fact, I had a situation, Jim, where the hairdresser really screwed up my hair bad, really bad. And last month, real bad. Wow. Burst into tears bad. And, it was you that and I'm crying, and it was you that I thought about. And it's like, okay, girl, you got to rein this in, because you can't let yourself,
yeah.
Can't let yourself take the ride, take the, first fear, stop at the first fear.
Yeah. Wow. Sheesh.
I had one thing. I'm sorry. There was one therapist. She's really good. Not with y'all. She's got a YouTube thing, but she was talking. She had a YouTube thing on stress and dizziness and your symptoms. And she was saying, which makes total sense, that there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, stress didn't cause mine because I don't have any stress. Yeah. But she was saying any kind of stress. Even something that could make you happy, any kind of emotion, even writing out your bills or, can cause internal stress that you don't even realize.
It's excitement.
Yeah. She says,
excitement.
Yeah. So, I noticed too that if I'm laughing or something, other kind of emotion besides worry, it'll make me really dizzy. It any kind of thing. And so it made a lot of sense what she was saying, because she was trying to, because so many people I don't have any stress. Stress didn't cause my dizziness, and then you look back and they look back on their posts and stuff, and you see, they're living with their parents now with their children because their husband passed away suddenly, but she doesn't have any stress.
Yeah. Oh, we come across that quite often, especially when I was coaching.
I used to tell people I was a calm person.
Yep.
I really believed before I had that panic attack in October 2017, I was a calm person.
Yeah.
I'm anything but calm.
Well, and we hear that quite often is because people don't recognize, first off, stress. They don't recognize what stress is. They think stress is when you're running around pulling your hair out, but there's a lot of ways we can create stress. And then they don't track stress, so they don't realize the connection between their stress and their symptoms. So we spend a lot of time helping people understand that. But several times I'd be talking with clients, and they'd say, well, I don't feel stressed. And I say, well, what have you been doing this last week? And they give me, 20 things that are highly stressful. Oh yeah, I just did all those things. That's not stress. It's like, wow, just didn't make the connection. So you make a good point. Now, when the body's healthy and not hyperstimulated, the body can recover quickly because the glass isn't full. But when the body's hyperstimulated, all those things contribute. Yeah.
And you really helped me out.
Yeah, that's an exact. Stacy, I had an actual conversation with Stacy when he goes, "Who told you to do all that stuff?"
Yeah, Jim did. But I learned a lot from that. I really did. That really, really helped me, because whenever I was in bad shape, or I even feel like I'm really, I'll write down, okay, what has been going on this week? What's going on right now? What's really going on and I'll find it.
Yeah.
And I'll go, oh, well, no wonder.
Yeah. No, we live stressful lives. We just do. And, as discussed earlier, we're being bombarded by so much information and stimulation. Everybody's running at such a high pace, trying to do more with less and just go, go, go. Again, the body isn't designed. But if a person, because again, each one of you is in recovery and I was in recovery too, I had to say, this is what my life is going to be like. And if it means cutting back on some of that stuff, then I'm going to cut back on. Even now, when my wife and I are looking for something to watch or whatever, we're really picky about what we watch, what we let into our minds based on what's been going on. And we have to do that as recoveries because no one's going to do that for you. This is the thing. We have to do that work for us, and it's not being selfish. It's actually good self-care.
I like what you said about really, even with this COVID nightmare that's going on, golly, I can't even turn on the radio. I think, well, turn on some 80s music and kind of jam out and go for a ride, calm down.
Yeah.
Well, I turn on the radio and it's nothing but heart attack, SVT, DVT, COVID. I don't know if Canada has the ads like we do here in the US, but cheap willikers. I actually had I have an old Jaguar I drive, and I actually have a CD changer in the back, and I was like, I'm going to load this up and see if it works.
Yeah.
Because the ads, even on the TV, even on the radio, just driving to, the grocery store.
Yeah. My wife and I, we don't watch the news. We just don't.
I don't either. I don't either.
We've chosen to live our life differently.
Even like on the YouTube channel, I do these meditations that I enjoy and they help me. I do the same ones. I'm kind of weird like that. But even on there, it's COVID this and death that and killed. And, it's like, gosh, I actually paid and got a membership just so I could eliminate some of them. Not all of them, just some of them.
And that's important. And again, we have to be the ones that set up our life the way we want to live it. And just because everybody else is doing that doesn't mean we need to. And I feel bad for the generations growing up today because this is what they're used to. This is their normal. And it's only going to be a matter of time until their body's at a point where it's not going to be able to take that level of stress.
Already.
They're already seeing that, Jim, with people.
Oh, yeah. Mental health has just gone through the roof.
Kids, that suicide rate, every college campus in the U.S. has some kind of suicide protocol.
Yeah.
I want to challenge.
Yeah, I can attest to that. So I was just going to say, as a college student, I'm in my early 20s. I definitely see it. I guess it definitely wasn't as prevalent as when I was younger, but even just kind of seeing it now, I guess regarding mental health issues and all that, I've been noticing it's definitely way more common among different people I meet and get to know than I feel like it previously has been.
And the amount of recreational drug use now to try to cope with it all is astronomical. And
and they're also getting prescribed stuff.
Yeah, and this is going to take a toll.
Yeah, I mean, whether even just alcohol. I know plenty of people that use alcohol to kind of cope with their issues, and it's one thing to do it, every once in a while for fun, but it's another to you can't drink your problems away.
Right.
And it's definitely not a happy trend.
No, it's not. And I feel bad for our society because that's where it's headed. It's got onto this instant gratification, self-focused thing, but it's not good for us. And this is where, as recoveries, now is the time where we have to set our lives up the way we want to live it, regardless of what's going on around us. Yeah, so important. Because remember, the body was not designed to go at this pace. It just wasn't.
You see, but the problem is, Jim, I feel like as a culture, we've lost track of healthy, a healthy pace. I almost feel like, it's like handing somebody a map they don't know how to read because, they just don't have, and you're being told, well, if your back hurts, take a pill. If you're having depression, we put you on a pill, and well, you're still having depression, we put you on another pill. And it's never even talked about. You need to rest.
Yep. The other aspect too that was often overlooked is the negativity in today's world. I love research and I love reading the comments of researchers. But years ago, when you were reading comments, they were typically respectful and they're fact finding and genuinely interested in learning and interacting. Well, now there's a whole different culture. Now it's all about being right or wrong and putting the other person down and being victorious. It's just like, wow.
The cancel culture, and everybody's on blast. And
this takes a mental health toll, and it's only a matter of time until it catches up physically, and then they have to deal with it. And then it's going to require making these mental shifts that all of us are making. But it's so important for us to look at our lives and say, I'm going to live my life based on my terms, regardless of what's going around me. And if that means cutting out all these other things, then so be it, because we can live a healthy, balanced life by being more deliberate about it.
I like that you said that, because I struggle with that, because as you know, I turned off my cell phone, and you know, I made some, you know, I just got to get better. I'm not going to live my life like this. And